Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Corne and I am so happy to be a part of this offering. I have tasked myself today to share with you a little bit about forgiveness and to give you an asana that can help support you as you move through the process, whether it's forgiving yourself, forgiving others. But it's a pose that I have chosen specifically because of the impact that it has on the central nervous system. And I feel that the best way for me to share with you a little bit about forgiveness is to first put you in the pose. And while you're in it, then I will talk a little bit about this subject that is so challenging and so necessary. So the pose that I recommend when you're dealing with resentment or attachment to a story and an emotional loop that you can't get yourself out of is called Viparita Karani, legs up the wall. It's a restorative pose. So what I'm going to ask you to do is get a bolster, a cushion from your couch, or a couple of blankets, and you're going to put them right up against the wall. Not right directly against the wall, actually, about 5 inches or so from the wall. I'm going to use the bolster, but again, you can take blankets and fold them up and stack them. I like to use 2 blankets, but really depending on how tall you are, 3 might be better. It might be too much on the lower back, but so 2 seems to work well. I'm going to take another one of those blankets and put this over here. That'll be for my head in a moment. So you want there to be space between the bolster and the wall. Your buttocks is going to go into this space. So you might want to pull it a little further back, just depending on your body. You're going to sit up onto the bolster. Put your hip up against the wall. And then you're going to turn around and slide your legs up the wall, keeping your knees slightly bent. From here, you're going to lay back onto the floor. Now, with the knees bent and the feet on the wall, this is going to allow me to lift the hips up and reposition the bolster so it really is supporting the lumbar part of your spine, your lower back. And this will allow your buttocks to fall into that space that's directly between the bolster and the wall. And then you straighten the legs. If this feels like it's too intense on the hamstrings, all you want to do is just slide your body back a bit so that your hips are further away from the wall. This will relieve some of the pressure on your hamstrings, or you can keep your knees slightly bent. You want to draw the shoulders away from the neck. And this blanket is going to go right underneath the head. The shoulders are going to be resting on the floor between the bolster and the blanket. The palms turn up, the eyes closed. Now I'm going to explain a little bit about this posture, and then I'm going to talk about this particular theme. This is a restorative pose. And in a restorative pose, it's telling you exactly what you want to do, which is rest. Do nothing. The less you do, the more beneficial the pose can become. This pose allows for the blood and the fluid that often gets coagulated at the base of the body to flush downward towards the heart. It nurtures into the abdomen. It spills into the heart, takes the pressure off the heart. It drops down into your throat, so it helps to nourish and nurture the thyroid and the hypothalamus. And it also then spills into your head, which also then helps to nourish the pineal and the pituitary glands. Now, I'm going to ask that you stay here in this pose for quite a few minutes, and I'm going to come up out of the pose so I can talk you through this. If at any point this starts to get uncomfortable, all you want to do is bend your knees and let the knees drop open. Otherwise, try to keep the legs straight. So you stay where you are. I'm going to come out of the pose and share with you a little bit. Now, what this pose does is it helps to bring some restoration to the central nervous system. The central nervous system is what can keep us in fight, flight, freeze, or collapse when it is activated because of trauma or feelings of overwhelm or just day-to-day experiences that are too activating for us. When our body remains activated in that way, it makes us reactive in our life. Restorative asanas helps to balance out the hormonal system. This allows for an overall feeling of calm so that the body can go into rest and digest. When we're in rest and digest, we can make better, more integrated decisions in our life and get out of the spin. So I want to invite you just to relax your body in this pose, letting the blood simply drain. Soften the eyes, the mouth, the jaw. Forgiveness is arguably one of the most challenging experiences that we will be asked to manage in the course of our life and on a spiritual level. One of the deepest teachings that we can ultimately embrace. In the practice of yoga, we're taught about energy. Energy is simply vibration with information. There's gross energy, that's what you can see. Your legs, the bolster beneath you. The energy moves at a slow enough rate that your eyes can understand the information. But there's subtle energy you cannot see, but you can feel. And that includes hate and shame and guilt and grief, rage. These are energies that you can't see, but you can feel. It has a resonance. The resentments that we carry, regardless of how true the story is, how deceived we've been, how betrayed or abandoned or rejected or neglected, regardless of whether or not that is true. The energy of resentment is caustic, and it only serves, when internalized, to make us feel unwell, shut down, reactive, hypervigilant. Forgiveness is something that we do for ourselves, not for the other person. It doesn't necessarily mean that we condone behavior or hold someone accountable. But it does mean that we commit to doing the inner work necessary so that we can experience and see a bigger pattern to why things happen as they have, so that we can grow, not in spite of the pain or the suffering that we feel, but because of it. But this takes time and an enormous amount of patience and practice. And when we forgive again and again and again, and continually check in with ourselves to make sure that those tendrils of resentment, which is so habitual, are being severed. In the spiritual practice, we ultimately recognize that everything happens the way that it's supposed to in order for the individual soul to transform. And what that means for me is if something happened, it happened. You can't change what is. That's just life. But we can find the strength and the resilience to make sense of the incomprehensible and to grow more compassionate, more loving as a result of all that we've experienced, so that we're not holding on and attached to those stories, and as a result limiting ourselves within our own growth. Now relax your shoulders here and relax your eyes. Often when we talk about forgiveness, our bodies can have a physiological response because there's no separation between the mind and the body. And so we might feel some contraction, some resistance, soften the mouth and the eyes. Soften your jaw, your shoulders, your belly. And now, from here, go ahead and bend your knees and let the knees come open for a moment. And place your hands right onto your heart center. Take a deep breath in and gently exhale it out. And then bring your knees together and you're going to roll to your side and keep rolling until you can come up and sit up into a seated position. Just sitting up as tall as you can as the blood drains back down into the pelvis. Place your right hand on top of your left. Bring your thumbs together for a mudra called Dhyana Mudra. The triangle of Dhyana Mudra, it represents Sangha at one corner, community, Dharma or purpose, or truth to the other corner, and enlightenment, bliss at the top. And now close your eyes. And let's allow ourselves a moment here just to integrate that we are in these bodies to learn what love is. And part of the process of beingness is that we get to explore the full spectrum of human experience, the light and the shadow. So very often, to learn what love is, we also have to learn what love is not. And so our hearts get broken. People we love die. And there are so many incomprehensible moments that can happen in the course of a single lifetime. And again, that's just life. But through these practices, we learn that there are resources and tools and skills that we can cultivate that allow us to continue to grow and open our own hearts, no matter what. And to come into that understanding that all of us who walk this path are all here to awaken to what love is. And the rate in which that happens is between each individual and the God of their own understanding. And that ultimately we are all doing the best we can with what little we know, based on the trauma that we've experienced and the lack of tools that we had access to. And so all of us are worthy to be forgiven and to be given back to God. So take this moment first to forgive yourself for thinking that you should have known better. To forgive yourself for the ways in which you've rejected or denied or abandoned or neglected your own self. Forgive yourself for the ways, perhaps, that you have rejected, denied, deceived, abandoned, or betrayed another human being on this path. Cutting that cord of self-loathing that you might be carrying and honoring your own humanity. And then perhaps, maybe, recognizing that there might be a resentment that you're carrying towards another being because of a choice that they made that caused hurt or harm to you, suffering. And maybe it's not time yet, not today. But reflect for a moment on what forgiveness could feel like, what it would look like, and what it could create. If you allowed yourself to cut that cord between you and that being and give them back to God. May they be happy, may they be safe, may they be free. But carrying with your own heart the mantra, thus far, no further. Thus far, no further. Will you carry that story, that anger, that fear, that shame, that guilt, that grief? That you will open your own heart to the power and to the presence of love. And make a commitment that that experience will open you to more compassion and more empathy for your own journey and perhaps others. So place your palms into prayer, into Anjali Mudra, invoking the power and the presence of God within and beyond. We ask, as we continue to grow and heal, may we have the resources and the support and the community so that we can continue doing the inner work necessary to strengthen ourselves, letting go of the resentments that we feel that are causing us so much pain and suffering. We ask for the willingness to look towards our own shadow self, to let go of the limiting beliefs that have blocked us from our true nature, and to open our heart and our consciousness to love in all of its myriad of expressions. We ask for clarity and commitment, strength, willingness, liberation. We ask, may we forgive always and forevermore. May we all be blessed. May we all be free. And then we give thanks for this journey as it is, for the air we breathe, the food we eat, for all the love that is our life. And then together we offer this blessing, this commitment to forgive and to love with one single Om. Take a very deep breath in. And lower your chin to your chest. Open your eyes and inhale. Come up. Thank you all so much. Namaste.